still America? The United States of America. Is it? Is it united? No. Does it still have some states? Yeah. Is it still America? Kinda. And really, years and years ago, when the founders decided it was time to do something unprecedented historically. It was time, after thousands of years of every civilization, every tribe, every culture, every continent, every land, every sea that would conquer and conquest and monarch and despot and by the sword cause the peasants to kneel or be doomed. Humans have tried to destroy everyone in their wake so they could maintain power and be completely and utterly the purveyors of control and the receivers of everything they wanted. Welcome to the human condition. And these crazy founding fathers said, what if the people ruled? You mean like anarchy, like the French Revolution? No. What if it was a constitutional republic? And in that constitution, the actual rights, the Bill of Rights, would be told to every American citizen who chose to join our cause. This is your guaranteed rights under God. And after that Constitutional Convention, when they finally accepted the terms and conditions and it was ratified and became the law of the land, the greatest experiment, the greatest risk in history was launched, and the greatest country in human history not only survived but thrived and became literally a beacon for every other nation that even pretended that it had a better way to rule. And yet, was there one amendment missing? Only one. After all the years, after all the constitutional scholars have come hunkered down under a candle using whale blubber candles, you know, the blubbery whale candles. They all got together once and said perhaps we could have included one addendum, one more little constitutional right, and that is, from here ad infinitum, we grant the right of every American and everyone outside of America that longs to be amongst us the privilege of spending every Monday night at 7 Central Standard Time to watch the genius, the comedic, bon vivant, that Renaissance man, and that guy with way too little to do on a Monday night, so he decided to jump in and start a podcast like every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and I mean every. Nevertheless, if you're watching, you're here. And this is, in fact, the last time of 2021. The last podcast of 2021, and the last time it will be called The Brad Stine Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone. You are part of a long chain of events of people who came together and launched a podcast that was unlike any other. Number one, it was sponsored by Christian Podcast Central out of Oceanside, California, or Vista to be precise, who's aggregating as many Christian podcasts as possible so they can become an empire and make billions of dollars and hopefully throwing me a bone. Also, Glockstore.com threw a few bucks in because they believe in what I had to say. The Brad Stine Show, if you've never been here before, you might have recognized me from all of my clips or seen me live. I am, in fact, God's comic, so deemed by the New Yorker magazine in 2004. And my podcast, The Brad Stine Show, is a combination of comedy conservatism and Christianity combined in a cacophony of clarity. It's a hybrid unlike anything ever seen before. And that's why we're here. Soon, and very, very soon, guests will appear, just like all the other great, incredible podcasts. Right now, I don't quite have that. I have had podcasts guests before. But this time, are we losing signal?
Yeah, for some reason, our stream anything not be plugged in.
Have you ever had your cranny nooked?
My cranny has thus far remained unnooked, and our stream just went back on, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, here's the thing. I have always felt that when I stood in front of a camera, I was home. It was something that always made sense to me. It always felt good to me. It always worked for me. And so, the podcast isn't a big leap from something I'm comfortable with or something that I've done in my lifetime. But it wasn't something I ever expected to do. So we're going to talk a little bit about who I am, why I'm here, only because we're going to wrap up the year today with this podcast. But before I go any further, I want to say hi to some of the incredible friends and fans that come up every Monday night to participate.
All right, before we do this, who wants to guess who was the first person in the chat?
Yeah, who guys do you think would be the first in the chat? Anybody have any ideas who the first in the chat might be?
Let's not get ourselves here. It's one of two people.
Now, listen, I see, now I don't know if this is the way it works, but I see a Bruce Joy Hinkrinson. God bless Patriots, we are one. Shauna Fredericks here. Glad tidings for 2020. There's Paula Faye Marie Rauchi, who still needs a photo! What is wrong with her? Karen Boyd Hahad. Sherry Rigdon says you were great. Tinsel Sizemore says hi to Karen because everybody sucks up to Karen because she's a sweetheart. And she has free gifts. Hey, Brad, been a long time. Joe with the Jersey Shore, God bless. Hey, Joe Haynes, thanks for coming back, buddy. Hi, Brad and White, Happy New Year. That's Marsha Pointer-Reed. Glad she's there. Sherry Rigdon, hello, how are you doing today, and how's the weather over there? Weather is really nice. It's actually exceptionally nice, probably in the 60s, and I'm in December in Nashville, Tennessee. Soon to be in San Diego on New Year's Eve. I'll be performing in San Diego this New Year's Eve. Karen Boyd says hi to Tencel. Jason Copenhaver's here saying hi and Merry Christmas. Let's see. Sweever Palmer showed up. Hello, how are you doing today? And how's the weather over there? I already said that. Am I going backwards? Nick Kress, hello, how are you doing today? And how's the weather over there? Sweever, something's wrong. Hello from Bellefonte. It's Rebecca Daly Dwyer. White and Brad from frozen northwest of Richmond, Washington is there. That's Forrest Bainey. Dusty Willems is. Josh Sipes is here. Donald Parker's here. Lake Taps, Washington. Dwayne Butloyd's here. And let's see, anybody else? Yes, sir, yes, Georgia and Columbia, South Carolina. We beat Heat records and set in 64. Good job, Karen. Well done. I'm sure it's that global warming. Doing good. It's a bit chilly. How are you? That's Thomas. Nick Kress, ice and 16 degrees, headed for 0. Sorry, Nick. Good thing you have an HVAC company. Teresa Ferguson's here. And that's always good to see. Damien Shelton said hi. Charles Johansson, George Riggle, and Tammy Olivier. Oh, look, Benjamin's here. Hey, Benjamin, hadn't seen you for a while. Glad to have you with us. There's some buffering issues. Yes, we know that. Hoot Brad feeling better than after the flu. Good. Yeah, okay, they're telling us. No, I'm just getting to where they're telling me that everything's going wrong. Carrie Lynn, my friend just posted something by you a couple of days ago. That was the first time I heard of you. Since then, I've loved watching you. Well, I'm glad that it's the first time you heard of me, Carrie Lynn. I'm glad you showed up. Glad you're here. Glad you're part of the experience. And it is, in fact, the Brad Stine experience. Why, when you experience me, what comes to mind?
First thing that comes to mind is experience is definitely a good word to describe it.
Okay. So there was the Jimi Hendrix experience. This was a great guitar player way before your time. But this is the Brad Stine experience. So explain it to me.
So experience, by, well, not formal definition, but informally, experience is the word you use when there's really no other way to describe what's going on. It's basically a catch-all term that means nothing. It's sort of whatever it happens to be at that moment.
So that's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It's nothing because you can't quantify its definition. It's just an experience.
Huh. I've never experienced that. Well, it's funny because I have hoped and prayed that you would be here, you'd be tight. Now, I was concerned, folks, I gotta be honest with you, if you're a first-time viewer, you need to know that that voice that you don't see, that's my son. I just, listen, when you're hugely famous like me, and I bring people tens and tens at a time, so, it's gigantic. I don't want my family to be exploited. I don't want to be considered nepotistic. And so I just don't want my son to be trotted out like some kind of show pony. Look what I did. Look what came from my loins. Wyatt, you came from my loins, and yet you don't hear me bragging about it.
Oh, yeah. It's not like I hear that every Monday.
It's funny because when I think of my loins, I think of you.
Really? That's what you're going with?
I just...
Are we already that starved for views?
We're starved for views. Yes, indeed. Hey, listen. Here's the deal, guys. I do want to say thanks again to my sponsor, Christian Broadcast Center, Joel Fieri. He shows up every now and again and watches. He was the one that put together Stine Has Issues when I did those, and we're going to show you a clip of one of the Stine Has Issues here later when I got to talking about wrapping up the year and what it should look like and what we can think about and what has been really the most significant thing about this year that maybe we need to discuss and think about and pray about and contemplate and try to find answers to, because we're still here, right? And America's still here, right? And we still have to find answers to our questions. And that really is the human condition, where there's always these problems that we're all trying to figure out. And we're all trying to take different angles. We all think we know what we want. We all think we know what we want, the same things. But getting there is always a different journey, different language, different personalities, different histories, different dysfunctions, trying to come together and create something that is helpful and wholesome and good and beautiful and bring some kind of justice and mercy and hope to everybody equally. And of course, you can't ever have people equal, because people are different. People are unique. Some are big, some are small, some are fat, some are thin. Wyatt, do you think it's insulting if I say some people are fat?
Is it insulting? No. Will people be insulted? Yes.
Ooh, very well nuanced, my son. Again, only my loins could have created such insight. I often have wondered...
You're going to be losing a viewer in a few seconds if you don't cut it out, and he's sitting right next to you.
Yes, okay. My son literally dropped his face in his hands, his cupped hands, which is something you normally only see in a B-rated movie from 1930 or in a really bad soap opera. But look, folks, I'm always grateful for you guys to show up. I'm always grateful for you guys to say hi. Karen's been an old listener because she's old. Nick Kress has been around since we've been launching this thing. Chris Hammond, of course. Who else is out there that's been around forever? Carrie Tudor has been one of my champions. Let's see. Who else is out there? Carrie, yeah, I already said Carrie. Who else is out there that is like regulars? Teresa Ferguson, of course. Benjamin Gregory, yes. Anyways, it's always exciting for me to see these people come back, because it's such a kind, humbling gesture. But it's always great to see new people show up, like we did with this Terry Lynn. So that's great to do and to be aware of as well. So I wanted to let you know that those who are new, who are fresh to this, and we have one person that literally said, I just got turned on to you this week, and now she somehow stumbled into the podcast. So I wanted to do a quick clip that tells you a little bit about my background, for those who don't know and are new, a little bit about what I can and will bring to the table down the road for next year. But I wanted you to have a little bit of more understanding of me and why I'm here and what I'm trying to do and where I came from and why I'm in the business I am. So, Wyatt, did you get that clip about magic to comedy?
Oh, you wanted me to load that? I
Yeah,
thought you
I
wanted me
wanted
to
you-
watch that.
No,
And then
no,
give my
I-
commentary in a humorous fashion.
I should have been more specific when I knew that you were the producer and the guy that loads everything. Instead, it looks like he dropped the load.
I mean, I have this other thing that we were supposed to use last week and then just dumped because you spent too much time talking to
All right,
Karen and Nick.
Just use it then!
Fine, I'm playing the new clip.
Good for you, son. See how he has me on pins and
Well,
needles?
I mean, my whole
Hope you
journey
enjoy
has been
this.
kind of convoluted. I'm very much a Renaissance man, even from the time I was young. When I started out as a young man, a teenager, I got involved in magic and sleight of hand. I loved magic, what they call street magic now, but then they called it close-up magic or table hopping because people would be working in restaurants and so forth. So I was in Southern California when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, performing in restaurants, performing close-up magic. And I was in Southern California, so I was working with some of the top sleight of hand magicians in the world, who many are still my friends. I created some magic tricks that I invented that are in magic books that magicians buy to see how to create things. So I kind of had this odd launch to my performance art career that most fans of mine don't know I was part of. They don't know that I have family in the carnival that I went and performed with and are still there. They don't know that I can eat fire and swallow swords, but I can. They don't know that I even was hired one Halloween in Knott's Berry Farm in the sideshow, and I portrayed a character called Sato the Masochist that I created using all these odd sideshow techniques, and I literally became a legend in Knott's Berry Farm. All the people would stop. The people that worked there would stop and watch me because I wasn't just doing crazy stuff. Oh, he's shoving stuff through his arm or whatever. I made this funny character, and they literally stopped and watched me. And then I did it 1 year, and then I vanished. And for years, I would hear everybody's asking, "What happened to Sato the?" I mean, I became kind of this like mystical figure that showed up 1 year and vanished. And some guys found me like a year or two ago. They had been looking for me for 20 years. Whatever happened to that guy? And they found me. I think we found Sato when they saw my comedy. So I've got that career. And what happened was the close-up magic wasn't a lot of money. So I thought, well, I need a bigger means to make income. So I said, what if I had a stand-up show, comedy, magic, because I could go in comedy clubs. That gives me another avenue of income. So I started working there. And as I watched comedians, I started finding that more compelling to me. It's like magic's cool, and it's become even more hip in the last few years with magicians winning America's Got Talent, and it's amazing. It's wonderful. But it's a prop. I mean, it's like juggling. The high-end sleight of hand is very difficult, and not everybody can do it. And so it's incredible skill. But it's something you can learn. It's like learning an instrument. It's like learning to juggle. It's like learning a ventriloquism act. Not anybody can be a stand-up comic. That is really unique. That's brain surgeon territory because the number one fear that people have is to speak in front of a crowd. That's their number one fear. And part of the reason for that is they don't want to look stupid or be belittled in front of a group of strangers. Well, guess what? When you go to start comedy, what you're saying is, I'm willing to have strangers hate me, mock and ridicule me, and tell me to get off the stage. And you put up with it. For some reason, you said, I can do this thing. And so when I saw the stand-up, I said, that's what I want to do. That is cool. Can I just use words and ideas to entertain without the prop? And so I eventually got rid of the magic, started doing that, and I started making a living in clubs and just in improvs and funny bones and all the well-known clubs, and worked with a lot of the well-known comics that you know of over the years. And then when this company in California that was booking clean comedians started, I saw this as another avenue of income, and they were booking churches, and I didn't even know this is 90s, early 90s. It's like I didn't know churches Comedy, I've never heard of that, but I can do that. I'm a Christian. I don't have to clean up my act. It's already clean. I was clean in nightclubs because I believed creativity is funnier than crude. And I wanted to show you can be funny and not have to curse or use sex jokes. But I started getting into the churches, and I said, man, I don't know. I'm supposed to be here. And little by little it grew until a guy saw my tape in Nashville, Tennessee, and said, you should be doing Christian comedy because there ain't nobody like you. And it kind of launched from there, and I moved to Nashville in 2002.
So, I guess,
Hold on. For some reason, there we go. For some reason, the camera wasn't coming back on. Oh, you good?
well, anyways, so I wanted to give you guys a little brief reminder as to kind of my life, my background, my history, and the things that have brought me to this place in America, in time and space. And I wanted to also let you know that, my life has always been filled with like odd choices as to what I wanted to do, but I always felt like entertainment was just my thing. It was something I wanted to be. It was very natural to me. It came with very it just made sense. And so I end up here on these Mondays talking freely, and what I like about it is when I do comedy, you're kind of stuck, right? You're stuck with just doing a stand-up show. You've written the material, you've tried to make it as funny as you could, you try to get it as perfect as you could, so you have to keep repeating it over and over again. Well, once you film that, then that goes out on clips on YouTube or wherever. It doesn't change. I mean, it's something that was once recorded in time. It's never going to disappear. It's always going to be there. Many of the jokes that you see on some of this back catalog stuff, I still do once in a while when I'm doing a live event, though I'm always trying to work on the next material because it takes so long. It's funny, I was listening to Bill Burr the other day, and he said it usually takes some 2 years to really knock down an hour. And I know what that's like. I mean, I put an hour out once a year for like three years in a row, but I'd had so much material accumulated by that time that it was a lot easier to do. I would pick my set, I would do it, I'd film it, we'd go edit it, and hopefully it'd be too much, and I could take out a joke here, a joke there, and I could move it to the next recording I'd do the following year or whenever. So I knew that material worked. I didn't have to rewrite it. It was good, and it just ended up on a whole new album, and perhaps it had first been delivered on a different one. But anyways, that's kind of how my life and career has gone. But I wanted you guys to know that I was a professional magician. I did do a lot of odd things, including antique photography, where people would dress up in the old costumes, and I'd take the tintype kind of black stuff and white. So I've just been eclectic. I've been a Renaissance man only in that regard. Just did a lot of different things because it interested me. Well, come to find out, I had severe, and still do, ADHD and obsessive compulsive behavior. So I have a mental disorder.
No.
Yeah. And so it causes me to have a very difficult time. Keeping on task.
Oh my God, that was terrible.
What do you mean?
Let me guess. Let me get this straight.
Yeah.
You've been in the comedy business for how many decades? And that is the best material you could come up with for an ADHD joke. That's it?
Not necessarily. I just it was off the cuff. See, that's what you guys have to understand you're getting right now on the podcast. You're getting something that's happening on the moment, on the cuff.
You are getting the lowest hanging fruit.
Sometimes it's the lowest hanging fruit, but sometimes the lowest hanging fruit is hanging low because it's so thick and juicy and ripe, it's ready to fall and immediately be eaten up by those who appreciate ripened fruit.
You are completely correct. Was this one of those cases?
No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Darn it! I hate it when you destroy you with my own insight and logic. Didn't see that coming, son, but I should have. Remember.
I mean, you gave me all the ammo I needed to defeat you in that one sentence.
It all came from my loins, son. All came from my loins.
Again, like... Do I need to get you like a thesaurus to find out another word for loins, just to mix it up a tiny bit?
Would a dictionary be a thesaurus's loins? I'm just asking. I don't know how they procreate anyway.
Okay, so one of you people is going to have to take this job over because I don't think I can take it.
He's going to take it. He's might actually get paid next year. Tiny bit, a little stipend, little thing here and there. What I might even give him is a whole $1 write-off, scratch-off, like they gave him at Lowe's. Why? You were in Lowe's today. My son, his side hustle is Lowe's, not because he doesn't love this glitz and glamour of our little studio and being a producer and a sidekick and really running the show of a nationally known comedian who happens to be his dad. But to him, drill bits have equal luster, equal intrigue, equal beauty, and far be it from me to dash the very dreams of my son, who thought to himself, boy, a career that could actually take me somewhere, or a lug wrench. How am I to judge him? He's his own man. He's a free agent. He has autonomy. He is my son. So, Wyatt, tell me, was Lowe's uneventful? And Lord knows, is it even blasphemous to add the word uneventful and Lowe's in the same category? I mean, perhaps. But tell us, son, how was Lowe's today?
First things first, I am trying very hard to ignore the fact that you just said lug wrench unironically.
Well?
Second of all, ever woken up at the crack of dawn, got dressed, went out to your place of business, and then had to sit there in just complete boredom for 3 hours before anyone of even remote interest appeared? I see you strumming that violin.
Wait a minute, you're...
Don't
wait, I want to make sure
I may be the disembodied voice behind the scenes, but I can still see,
Yes, you can, and I just didn't know, and I got to say, I'm shocked. You're telling me that a lot of the people that go into Lowe's aren't really interesting?
You mean the customers? I'm talking about the employees.
Oh, they're pretty bad too.
Well, no. They're not bad. They're just boring.
Okay.
Because it's 6 a.m. and the last thing anybody wants to do then is have a personality.
Or even be there.
That too, yeah.
Well, let me tell you something about personality. To get anywhere in life, you need a personality. To get anywhere in life, you want people to enjoy you, listen to you, be intrigued by you, or at least to find you dignified enough to listen to and perhaps have a conversation. And so I joke with my son about Lowe's, but he's out there with a job trying to do the best he can. I'm proud of him. For any hard laborer out there in the retail business, God bless you, I couldn't do it. I literally couldn't do it. Matter of fact, if they forced me to go to Lowe's to work under a work release program, the first aisle I'd look for was rope.
Aisle 16.
Aisle 16. My son knows. He knows Lowe's. And Lowe's knows his son's ability.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the comedian of our duo.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyways, I'm not going to sit here and take these insults. Matter of fact, I just did. Nevertheless, I can't go anywhere, but I'll tell you what I am going to do. I want to move slowly, but importantly, dignified, hopefully, into our discussion for the evening. Because I am a comic, and I assume most people come on to see comedy, I like to have fun with my son. I like to try to be humorous and fun with you guys because I want you to have a little time to enjoy your Monday evening. But, we need a lot of laughter. We need a lot of being able to just take release and release the steam. That is the purpose of the comedian. That's why we exist. It's part of why we were created in culture, was to help people endure the mundacity that is the human condition. But I also want to talk about things that matter. My career has become what it was because I stood up on stage and said, I am a Christian, I am a conservative, I am a patriot, and I'm unapologetic. And it launched me into where I am. I'm hated and hated and hated by a lot of people because of what I stand for. They call me everything they can think of because that's what you do to somebody that you can't compete with intellectually or ideologically. You just call them names. And for many people in this earth, but I'm going to speak about U.S. since I'm here, that's all they need. They've learned that just saying their feelings have been hurt, just saying that calling you a name that they've decided you are, gets them off the hook of having to examine themselves, or even to be proven truthful is irrelevant to these folks. So I want to talk about these things because they matter, because as much as I love doing comedy, as much as I love people saying, hey, you're funny, and I love how you speak the truth and you stand for values, and of course I do that because it's something I believe in and I love. But I care about what freedom is. I care about what liberty actually means. And how many times have you stopped and thought about that? How many times have you stopped and considered, what does liberty mean? A while ago I did a Brad Stine Has Issues, and I really wanted to explore the idea of the difference between worshiping the United States and being grateful for it. This is something I say on stage all the time, and it's something I say to you guys all the time. I do not worship the United States of America. I worship God. I am a God believer. I'm a Christ believer. But I'm grateful for this nation. I believe I need to fight for this nation's soul. That's why I do what I do. It's why I go out live to see people and to perform and to try to speak truths within the context of my comedy. And I'm kind of one of a kind, and what I stand for and what I believe and what I incorporate into my comedy is not like all the other guys, and it makes me different and unique, and not everybody loves it, not everybody's cup of tea, but some do. And for that reason, I make myself available to those who I think I'm supposed to touch and inspire, hopefully, to go out and do it themselves. So what I want to do is I want to play a clip. It's a little bit longer. It's about 10 minutes, but I do want to play it because it's going to best prepare you intellectually and hopefully emotionally for where I'm going to finish this podcast tonight about America, where we're at, where we're heading. And we're going to do that based on the elixir that is constantly being asked for us to ingest. And I think we need to use that as a conclusion to this podcast tonight, because it's something that hasn't gone away in 2 years, a year since it's existed. And we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to talk about the two sides of it and some different conversations I've had recently, but also some conversations and also some true pragmatic realities that have happened and occurred for those who have chosen to take the elixir and how it turned out. And also, what does it mean to us as Americans? And why are there some folks that are so pro getting this and putting on whatever face covering is necessary, because that's a good American, that's a good man, that's a good human, that's a good person of value and morals. And why are there so many people so adamantly against it? And we hate each other for that, and we're destroying each other for that. So I just thought we could talk about it before this is all done, because it's not going away soon, clearly. And so I wanted to do that, but I wanted to do it by prefacing you with something that you may have not really considered, and that is something that used to be an automatic expectation if you went to school in the United States of America. I don't think it happens anymore, but I'm going to reference it, and if you didn't experience this, then it might be of intrigue to you. If you did, you might remember it, but most importantly, listen to the things that I'm talking about, because when I reference them later, it might give you a little bit of pause to consider. Because again, as I've always said on this podcast, no matter what happens, I want you to be entertained, laugh, fun, educated, inspired, but I'm not here to get a bunch of people that are like-minded to agree with me. I'm getting here to hear people that hear something they think is true and go out and spill it to the world. If you don't take this and run with it, and if we don't mobilize as Americans, we will not exist anymore. We will be here, we won't be free, and that to me is non-existence. So, Wyatt, if you would, for my fans out there, would you show them the last clip of 2021's Brad Stine Has Issues? Take a listen to this, folks, and see if it might give you something to consider as we move into the final monologue rant. Run with it, son. Run with it, son. Hey guys, it's God's Comic Brad Stine. I know you've been waiting all week for the next episode. I don't blame you. I'd wait for it too, but I already know what's coming. Here's the question of the week, and I need you to participate by writing down in the thread below so we can all talk to each other. The question is simple. Did you grow up reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? And if so, or if not, do you think it's important that it's continued today? Write your comments below. Heck, I might even show up. I got nothing going. Come on in. Okay, so it's time for Americans to do some introspection. When I grew up and went to elementary school, we started our day, every day, reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. The pledge, for those of you that don't know it, and if you don't, you've proven my point, goes like this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Now, what is allegiance? Merriam-Webster defined it, and lest we forget, Merriam not only gave her allegiance to the flag, she even sewed them herself and sewed them back table for further revenue. But the definition goes like this. Allegiance, the loyalty of a citizen to his or her government or of a subject to his or her sovereign. Loyalty or devotion to some person, group, cause, or the like. Notice the word sovereign. Do you know what that means? If not, once again, I will do your homework for you. Sovereign means possessing supreme or ultimate power. In modern democracies, the people's will is, in theory, sovereign. In a previous episode, I taught you the absolute necessity in defining your terms in regards to a word or phrase when in communication with others. And if you don't, rest assured you will not be in communication at all. If you define a word differently and aren't aware of it, you will literally be speaking the same language to each other, but interpreting it from your perspective, and thus very likely having no idea what the other person is saying. You will become very frustrated, and as we have seen so often in America, you run the risk of getting angry and attacking and maligning the other based on your misperception. So, the first line of the pledge is a commitment to respecting and committing your support and defense of your country, which includes its traditions, principles, and its commitment to its creed. Doesn't mean you have to agree with everything that it perpetuates. And truly, when it comes to policies, that would be impossible depending on the president and Congress in regards to what they are attempting to implement. If they decide to move forward with a more socialist agenda, I am going to vehemently disagree for the very reason that the country that has achieved so much and became the greatest superpower in human history did so by following free market principles and limited government intervention. Though over time, there were presidents that began to implement socialist policies that literally began the unraveling of the American tradition. That was individuals left to themselves to seek to achieve whatever they could dream and were willing to risk through their hard work and determination. So, back to the pledge. And to the republic for which it stands. What is a republic? And again, if you don't know, then you are a victim of an erasure of your heritage, and are a victim of either poor education based on incompetence, or worse yet, of an agenda to obfuscate the necessary foundations you need in order to be able to grasp a true understanding of what America was founded on. It is literally why when Ben Franklin was asked after the Constitutional Convention what they had created, his answer has echoed throughout history. He said, a republic, if you can keep it. This rewriting American history is an agenda by Americans with a completely different view of what America is and could be. This is why it should be mandatory that every American child from elementary school through university be taught the original intent of what the founders envisioned when this nation was formed, because without the original rulebook, we will get off track as people's personal desires as well as their thirst for power will take precedence and become the driving force of their policy. It's why we need a constitution in the first place, so that it would be permanently established what the individual rights of Americans would be and what would be expected of the role of government in moving this nation forward. Okay, next phrase, one nation under God. If you haven't noticed, leftists fear one nation as much as anything because one nation means we have a collective memory of who we are as Americans and what is expected of us, contributors to this nation's future. It's why we have heard so much from the left about multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is designed to degrade the amazing uniqueness of America in regards to its place in history in creating more freedom for more unique nationalities and genders than any country before or after. Multiculturalism, which I discussed in a previous episode, acts as though all cultures are equally just, valuable, and honorable, so as not to hurt the feelings of those who have chosen to abandon their amazing culture to join ours. If you believe that, by the way, then you have to give as much honor to Aztec culture, which sacrificed hundreds of thousands of their enemies by cutting out the still beating hearts of their victim to appease the gods, as equal to the Declaration of Independence that made it clear God created all of us equal, thus cutting out our heart would be considered a no-no. Nazi culture would have to be honored equally with ours, or communist countries that caused more human rights violations and murder in the 20th century than any other political or religious philosophy in human history combined. No, America is e pluribus unum on purpose, out of many, yes, but one. A house divided falls, folks, under God. Wait, why would the pledge indicate a theocracy of some kind? It doesn't, of course. Under God referenced again the Declaration of Independence, reminder that the Creator gave us our rights and only He can remove them. Any other government or entity that tries to do so will be exposed as a despot, and he needs to be stopped by any means necessary. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Indivisible means unable to be divided, separated. Yet this country is more divided and separated than perhaps at any time in its history. Why? Because the evil, and it is, of leftism, Marxism, and socialism trying to replace our free market society where you earn whatever you are willing to work for and are compensated for whatever you might accomplish or not. Leftism hates accomplishment of the individual because it exposes one of the many undergirding lies of the left, that humans are born with the same intrinsic value and dignity, a Christian concept, by the way, but not with the same fortitude, work ethic, or skill set. The reason the left perpetuates the victimhood status of certain groups is to train them to receive government funds for not working or contributing to society in order for the left to have an endless supply of voters who will never be free from the chains they have shackled upon themselves and yet given permission to complain so as to never have to fully accept the responsibility that their successive generations have taught them. With liberty and justice for all, the definition of liberty is so important, I'm going to describe the entire group of phrases in the dictionary to help you fully feel its impact. Liberty, the power to do as one pleases. Freedom from physical restraint. Freedom from arbitrary or despotic control. The positive enjoyment of various social, political, or economic rights and privileges. The power of choice. If you don't have that, you have already been stolen from by your government leaders or local representatives. And yet, it was that form of liberty that caused the founding generation to pick up arms against its country of origin. That is why militia, the very idea of it, is crucial to defend liberty. And lastly, justice for all. Justice simply is fairness, moral rightness, a scheme or system of law in which every person receives his or her due from the system, including all rights, both natural and legal. Has America always treated its citizens equally? Absolutely not. Has America had cultural conventions like slavery that every culture did throughout history? Yep. Was that the concept counter to what the Declaration stated as well as the Constitution guarantees? Oh, yeah. Did 500,000 Americans die in the Civil War to try and right that wrong? They sure did. Is slavery over in America? Of course it is. Is slavery over in India, China, Pakistan, and a host of other countries right now in the year 2021? No. No, it's not. Should those countries be held accountable for this human rights abuse happening as we speak? Of course. But we as Americans shouldn't do anything to assist. I mean, after all, we don't want to be accused of colonialism or anything, right? See, remember, the left believes that all cultures are equal. Hey, leftist, hypocrisy much? So in conclusion, there is a reason we used to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and also a reason why the leftists discarded it. Nothing like a simple American tradition to expose the evil and control that the left has implemented into this nation that has gotten so numb to it, even the accusations by some Americans that the greatest voter fraud in our history can go unnoticed or justified. I mean, that's something people wanted to discuss, and they weren't even allowed to. Is that free? That's all we're asking. Can we be free to explore concepts we think need to be explored? Hey, America, you want your liberty back? Now you understand why the Second Amendment was created. Dangerous, huh? And now I ask you, now what? This is God's Comic, Brad Stine. Loving liberty and justice for all. Loving God first, country second. PC free is liberty. So, I wanted to take time to show a clip from Brad Stine Has Issues because it allowed me to spend a little bit more time, being a little bit more articulate, not off the cuff, not just speaking from my heart, though sometimes people prefer that. Because I hope that you feel like I'm just talking to you as a fellow American, a fellow man, fellow Christian, fellow conservative, fellow human, fellow free agent. Whatever perspective brings you here. I know we have atheists that watch me. I know we have agnostics. I know we have probably more libertarians that watch. You know, I don't want a show that only one group watches. Like I said, what's the point? I don't need that. I don't need to go to the opera and try to turn the people on to Pavarotti. It's already kind of in their genes. I want to show people that there's other ways to think and see and do things. But I do have a perspective that I will not compromise and I will not censor, and especially because it's censored by those who are the distributors of information. And I've said to you before, I think there's a obvious red flag to any group that censors ideas they disagree with. That should tell you something about them. Notice, I didn't say that somebody should put somebody on who's telling you to go kill somebody or somebody's trying to harm somebody. I'm talking about ideas you disagree with. This is where the problem has become so difficult to understand from my perspective as to how many Americans don't care freedom is going away. I don't understand how they don't see that. Now, for the younger kids who went to college, yeah, they're stupid. They're idiots. They're young, unmolded minds. They get away from the high school and their parents for the first time in their life. They hear stuff they've never heard before, and they think it's true because it's finally coming from somebody they haven't listened to since their whole life. And so they think they've found some new insight and wisdom, and it's just a bunch of tenured professors trying to get 18 and 19-year-olds to think they're smart because they don't have a risk or anything at stake. I've said this a million times. Teaching is a wonderful profession. It's important. But when you start trying to destroy other people's points of view because you have their grades in your hands and you have the intellectual acumen to do so because you're much smarter and wiser and been around a lot longer than them, you're just a bully, you're just a bigot, you're just a spineless child man who needs to manipulate 18-year-olds because you're a frickin', you're an embarrassment to humans. You clearly have a lot of low self-esteem and have to give yourself the illusion of value by forcing people to tell you how great you are. So that matters. Yeah, narcissism matters. Institutionalized narcissism, which is what leftism is, as I've pointed out, not only matters, but it is killing freedom. So I want to talk today about the elixir. Now I'm calling it that in a way that is mind-bendingly heartbreaking to me. Because honestly, I've discovered, and we've all discovered in the last few years, that sometimes you have to use pseudonyms and dog whistles and secret language so that you don't get thrown off a platform that wants to explore an idea different than the person that owns the platform. I would happily go somewhere as soon as I possibly could in the next 5 minutes if it existed. I don't know what my options are if I ever got thrown off Facebook, if I ever got thrown off YouTube, if I ever got thrown off Instagram, or any of these places. It's like all of us. We're trying to find where can we go and speak freely. Why are we these sort of vagabonds that have been sent out to carry on their backs the last remaining reminders of what truth and freedom actually was? The people that are actually living in real time what happened to people in totalitarian regimes when they tried to speak the truth to their fellow compatriots. And those compatriots simply said, no, I am happily caving in to whatever the government demands because I just want to be able to feed my family, have a roof over my head, send my kids to school. I will sacrifice everything if the state takes care of me. I can't imagine living my life like that. I can't imagine as an adult male with children and a wife and a home that I built off of my own sweat equity, off of gifts God gave me that I parlayed into ability to have people pay me to see what I do. And I created that thing, and of course I give glory to God. Of course as a Christian, I believe that God ordained me to do certain things and He made it available. I always presume that you understand that I always give that credit to God. But He gave me the ability to go out and do the work. I partner with Him. I can't imagine a 45-year-old man with 3 kids and a house and a mortgage who would rather have the state tell him how he can live his life, like he is a child again and needs daddy to give him an allowance. I can't imagine living like that. But that's what a good giant hunk of America has become. Absolute dependence, and more horrifically important, absolute spineless cowards. I can't imagine dying like that. A groveling slave who gave it all away. Who wanted the state to tell him how to raise his children? Who wanted to reach a place? You don't think there's something at stake? When they now can tell you that whatever I say I am, and you have to agree with it or I can cost you your job. That's where we're at. Thanks to you who did everything you were commanded to do. See, this is the problem. This is the problem. This was a constitutional republic. Constitutions gave us our rights, so we knew who we were, and we all had them equally. And the republic meant that the people would rule, thus we would provide people to represent us in Congress and Senate, and a president to help guide and direct that particular institution as it went for 4 years, unless he was reelected. That's really what we did, and we've done it. Okay? But it came at a heavy price because people died and people lost their freedoms to give it to us. They really knew they were never going to get it, really. They were never going to see it. They had no idea if it would work, if it would continue, but they thought it was worth passing the baton as they drowned to you, to me, to Wyatt. So the elixir. Why do I bring that up? Do you think there's something wrong with someone coming to you and saying, listen, we have a deadly, deadly, deadly disease. If you get this disease, you will die an agonizing death. If you are 1 day old, you'll get it and you'll die. You'll die immediately. If you get it and you're 10 days old, you'll die immediately. If you get it and you're 10, you're going to die quickly and fast. If you're in your teens, you're not going to be able to survive. 20s, 30s, 50s, 90s, everybody's going to die. Now, some people will survive. Some people will get through it. But for by far 70, 80% of people that get this, they're going to die. But we have an elixir that if you take it, will cure you, and you can't get it, and you can't give it away, and you can't die from it. Would you take it? Would you think that maybe that might be something that one could consider worth investing their autonomy in? I would. I mean, that was the polio vaccine, right? A vaccine means that you give them the You create the antibodies by giving them a little segment, and I'm not a biochemist, some small part of the virus or whatever it is, and enough that it won't become you, but it does give your body a chance to recognize it and create antibodies and destroy it, and suddenly you don't get polio. That's miraculous. And it worked because vaccines are supposed to keep you from getting polio. That's what they're for. But what if there was an elixir? They came around and they said, listen, here's the deal. There's a deadly, deadly, deadly disease out there. Not going to kill any baby. I mean, 1 in a trillion. But no, they're not going to. Young children are virtually immune from this. Teenagers, not going to really touch it. 20s, 30s, 40s, it's kind of not good. It's going to be a bad flu. 50s, 60s, you're probably going to get through it, but it's going to be rough for you. You get up in your 70s and 80s, this could harm you. Oh, by the way, if you're fat, you're obese, you're probably going to really be affected, and it could kill you. If you have a precondition, yeah, that could kill you too. So there is a very small sliver of people that if they get it might die and will have a greater risk of death for sure, but not even every one of them will. Matter of fact, it will have a 99.8% survival rate. But if you take the elixir, some of you are going to get blood clots and you're going to have a stroke. There's somebody in my life, close to me, who took the elixir and had a stroke 10 days later. And died a month or two ago. Happened to someone I know. I know somebody else that took the elixir who was in a category of suspect. In 80. Pretty dang good health for their age, actually, real good health. Has things like anybody would have at that age, but is basically real good shape. But had enough that listening to the doctor, trying to weigh the benefits and the downsides, took it. And when I recently spoke to this person, they actually said to me, I don't know if I would have reconsidered it today, if I would have done it. I don't know that I would have. Now, both of these people I know and knew very well. They were all, both of them are very nice people, good-hearted people who are seeking to do the best they can in their life. One of them I know much better than the other and is a Christian. So this person also prays and tries to seek God's wisdom. And I know if you're out there and you don't believe in God, then that doesn't enter into your system of exploring, how you want to make a call. Maybe you're just a pragmatist. Maybe you're more of just trying to read the data, read the science, and make the best informed decision you can make. And I have said from the get-go that I believe that you should have the right to indulge in the elixir if you feel it can help you. Now, there's a risk that you will have a stroke. If you are in your teens, boys especially have been getting this, hypocardia or something, but it's some kind of enlarged heart. This is real. You're not allowed to talk about that. Since when do you not go to people that are offering you a drug and say, listen, here's the drug, it might be helpful, seems to have helped a lot of people, but there are side effects. And if you happen to get one of them, it's not going to be pretty. So what's the difference? If I allow somebody to go ahead and do it, if you choose, that's your freedom, that's your autonomy. If you think it's the move you need to make the move. But if I told you that when we offer the elixir, you can take it, might have a stroke, you might die, you're still very likely going to catch the disease, but we'll have a booster elixir or even another booster elixir. And no matter how many you take, you're still going to get it, and you can give it to others. And the whole time that is happening, blame those that didn't get it, who also can get it and pass it on. In other words, they're exactly like you in what they can receive, what may happen, and what they might give out to others. And yet, you have the right to condemn them, to demean them, to belittle them, to other them, to despise them, and try to make it impossible for them to participate in the human experience in America. And call yourself virtuous and kind and good American, and you just care about your neighbor, while you will throw them in jail. You are absurd. Some people chose not to take it for one reason, because they were told the government said they had to, and that's where they said, I can't cross that line. I can't cross that line. If you wanted to make it available and I could choose to or not to, if you wanted to make it available, and maybe if I do get it, I'll have a little bit lesser symptoms. But the problem is, I know those who've chosen not to indulge in the elixir, who also caught it and were fine. They went through a little bit of sickness and they got through it exactly like those who have had it and the booster and the other booster, and claim, well, at least I took that. I'm only having small symptoms. And the dude's like, excuse me, I have the exact same symptoms. I didn't take it. So I don't have any of this crap in my body. And I didn't compromise my freedom, because here's the problem. The big, giant, huge, unfathomable and irretrievable problem. The minute They get every single American to acquiesce and say, I will submit to your demand that I receive this thing which does not fix me or heal me or protect me from getting this thing. But once I take it, I have given a verbal contract that you can steal my constitutional rights whenever you deem it necessary. That's the problem I have with those who said, I'm in. That's my problem with them. Not that you chose a different path than someone else. You've created an America which is a republic, where all Americans in unity are the ones that are supposed to govern, which means if the majority of Americans are willing to give away free agent rights given to them in the Constitution by God, and they give it away, it will never, ever be given back. Ever. And the next time those in power decide they need to lock you down, you don't have anybody to blame but yourself. And you took the rest of us who are calling from the wilderness, don't. Guys, take the risk. Some of you are going to die. Take the risk. It's your turn. We let soldiers go into harm's way and maybe die. Now it's your turn. Don't do this. We have to be strong and unified in saying no. If I choose and you want to make it available, that I'll accept. But you don't get to tell me I have to. Now you are no longer a representative of the Republic. You are a slave master, and I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't give you that. But if I'm the only guy, then I die or imprisoned or destroyed alone. But I do it with my God and my dignity. And history will show who stood up. See, we see the pictures of the resistance in France in the World War II. Just regular citizens in the regular clothes with the regular machine gun trying to do what it needed to be done to defend their country's invasion. And we look at these pictures and these photographs and we revel in their courage, and we're blown away by what they were willing to do and what risks they were willing to take. We said, wow, isn't that amazing? It's your stinking turn. What did you do? You were a sympathizer. So let me reiterate. It's not that you chose to indulge. I want you to have that right. It's that you jumped on the side of oppression. You never can retrieve it. You can never get it back. You did it. You never get to be the one, I didn't. Everybody came against us. Everybody came against us. Everybody was mocking us and belittling us and telling us we were the bad ones and blaming us. Somehow oblivious to the fact that they're still getting it and they're still giving it to others, but somehow those who didn't, somehow it's their problem. And somehow justified and felt obliged to do that because they felt better about themselves. They felt better about themselves that they allowed the master to whip them down, and they gave in. You tell me what to do. You tell me how to obey, but just don't whip me anymore. So my frustration isn't that others have taken a different path. That's their right. That's what freedom is. That's what America is. My frustration is if the majority take the path of self-imposed imprisoned. Those of us who tried to stand as the last vestige of freedom, you take us down with you. You shut the hole in the boat, and then you wouldn't even let us get in the life raft. Six months ago, I did a test in the doctor, and I got super high cholesterol. So we did a calcium score. My calcium score got plaque on the left ventricle, the widowmaker. So I got a decision to make. My doctor said that he thinks that if you become a vegan, you might be able to reverse the damage. But if you don't do something, you will have a heart attack and you will die, more than likely. Not too long from now. That was my diagnosis. It's real. I'm talking to you guys live. So I'm reaching out to a world famous cardiologist friend of mine, sending him results, getting his thoughts and his take. Of course, there's always the statin drugs, but I hear that they are linked to early onset dementia. They're not great for you, but it's if it's 1 in 10,000 that I get early onset dementia, or 1 in 10 that I die of a heart attack in 2 years or 2 months, then maybe you flip that coin. Why am I telling you this? Because you're my friends, because you're my people that come on Monday nights. You're my family. You're the ones that started this ministry. You're the ones that started this podcast. I showed up. I said hi. You said, hey, I like what you have to say. We'll help you. We'll support you. That's why I'm telling you. I don't talk like this to other people other than actual friends and actual family members and actually people that I actually care about. But I'm talking to you. I don't see you. I just see a camera in my studio that you created by your donations. Sit next to my son, 25 years old. I want him to have a great, amazing life. I don't know if he's going to, because America, if it keeps moving this direction, is not going to exist. My boy will not have freedom. He might be told exactly what he gets to do for a living. My point is simple. I don't care. I've told you this before. You watching me right now, you're terminally ill. You're dying. So am I. If you happen to have been given the diagnosis, you got 6 months, okay. The only difference between you and me, you know when you're out. I don't know. It could happen now, live. Wouldn't that be a podcast? Might happen in 10 years, 20 years. I don't know. I don't know. God does. I'm going down swinging. I'm going down. Letting the world know whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not. Materialism doesn't work. We all believe there's something greater than ourselves, and they simply have chosen the wrong vehicle by which they give that obedience. It isn't science. That's just a vehicle to help us see the natural world. It's not the material world. That's just what we inhabit. No, it's the super transcendent, that thing outside of the natural material world of matter, energy, and time. And that mind created us. It's the truth. I'm telling you now, it's the truth. And it revealed itself by becoming one of its creation. That's what was so amazing about John 3:16. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. Funny, I always used to think of that as it just was a way of saying God really loved the world. But I've realized it was deeper than that. What he said was, I made you guys once. I'm never going to remake you. I'm keeping the first original prototypes. And I'm going to see it through till the end, till I wrap this up. And my friends, if you haven't been paying attention to the world at hand today as we speak, we just might be on the last chapter. We might be just ebbing on into epilogue. Internet, these tapings, they last forever. Right? As long as there's an internet, it'll last forever. Someday, what I'm saying right now will be watched by somebody who knows, oh, that's God's coming breath. He died. Someday, what I'm saying right now, I'm going to be dead, and somebody's going to say, how ironic he was talking about that, and now it's happened. He's really dead. Yes! Going to happen to you too. I'm going down swinging. I'm going to fight for America's traditional values because it gave great opportunities to Africans, even though they came here not by their own desire and endured hundreds of years of evil. And yet they inspired to go beyond that, say there is an American dream and even we can make it happen, and they became president in 200 years. They should be proud. We should all be inspired and in awe of what they did, what America can look like when even those who got here in the most incredibly impossible conditions can still become freer than they ever could be. Do you know more sub-Saharan Africans have immigrated on purpose to the United States than were ever brought here by slaves? Their people created a world that their ancestors in the future right now can actually benefit from. They didn't die in vain. Nor did the Germans, nor did the Irish, nor did the French, nor did the Italians. Native Americans, those who were here before it was America, they suffered terrible indignities. Terrible! They lost their lands, their way of life, their culture. They were lied to by a government, which just tells you that governments are filled with people and people are filled with sin and pride. They got a horrible raw end of a deal. They were here a long time before us. But they weren't perfect people. They used to capture their enemies and bury them into ant holes and cut off their eyelids and pour honey on them so the ants could burrow through their skulls. They used to rape continuously the women until they died or kidnap them. They would torture, especially the Comanches, over and over again. Most people would kill themselves before they got captured by Comanches. These were not some amazing, beautiful people that had no flaws. They enslaved other tribes that they captured. They owned, on the Trail of Tears, some of the dead were black African slaves the Indians owned. Nobody's got clean hands. Nobody. But America tried to fix it. They gave them their own land where they get to control themselves and we don't get to tell them anything, and they can even have a gambling casino if they want to. Now, is this great? Do they have an alcoholic problem and all these other things by which their pure culture was taken away? Now they're sort of stuck being these casino owners. Yeah, I'm not saying it's equivalent or it's better or that it was right. No, it wasn't. But my point is they tried to find a way to pay them back. Okay? Affirmative action was a way of trying to restitute to slave descendants, giving back what was stolen from them. Is it perfect? No. They tried to give back. Reparations have already been occurring for quite some time. And now they're segregating classrooms and telling certain groups of people that are white that they have to hate themselves because they are intrinsically evil. They got half of that right. They are intrinsically evil. White people like me. You know who else is intrinsically evil? Black people and brown people and red people. As a Christian, I know the actual truth of what really happens in the human condition. We're all sinners. I want to fight for this nation and freedom again. I'm going to fight. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I've said this a million times. I told my family, if I die on this hill, I died a man. I died a father. I died a Christ follower. I died an American. I died a patriot. I died a conservative. And I'm going to try to die being loving my enemy and praying for those that despitefully use you. This is the last podcast of this year. Next week is going to be different. I probably won't even talk to you guys much. I think I'm just going to try to talk about what I want the podcast to become and evolve into in 2022. If you want to help it do that, we've got 1 week left in this year. I'm going to show you a couple of t-shirts I have. Here's one. I found my feminine side. I married her. I'm good. Here's one. No wussies. I think I've got I got pink nightgowns that say God made man first so he could practice. They're pink for, I think I might only have some left for young girls. What I was going to say to you guys is this. Before this week is over, it's your last week of 2021, if you would like to donate a gift to this ministry so we can move into the next phase of, hopefully by the end of January, having the set really contain a new desk so I can have my other mic set up and we can begin to get in guests and this and that. Donate. Get your tax deduction quick. It's your last shot this year. Anybody that would give me at least $250, and then you can bid from there, whoever ends up with the highest bid. But it has to be $250. I'll tell you why. Because I'm going to send you one of every t-shirt I have signed, one of every DVD I have, and a headshot. I'll send you a big giant package for $250 or more for this final go round of a donation. I'll send you that gift for thanks for helping this nonprofit, giving you a little bit of tax write-off, given to something and somebody you think cares about this nation, cares about this faith, cares about our political ideology that is necessary for America to thrive and to survive. And hopefully by next year, really this thing turns into something we can't even imagine. And see what happens. Where a guy is unapologetically conservative Christian, unapologetically patriot, unapologetically cares about this nation, and yet wants to have and talk to atheists and agnostics and Satanists and everybody else. I want everybody to have a free reign. I want to actually live like freedom and free speech still matters on this earth. I'm much more interested in talking to people that disagree with me than agree. Much more interesting conversation. Much more insight can be delved from that. That's what I want this to become if God ordains it and if you want to continue to support it. As long as you do, I'll continue to grow it organically. If it falls apart, begins to vanish away, then I'll guess it wasn't supposed to continue. But let's see. Let's see if we can do something amazing, guys. Over a year and a half ago, I started on my lap. Here at the end of the year, you guys watched this entire room built from scratch. You watched new lights being placed in place. You watched a new microphone being given, and new cameras and new tripods so that it could be a clearer picture and better sound. And then I got another mic for my son so you could actually hear his funny comments. And then we got computers that were donated and labor that was donated. I mean, it's all happened. We're ready to move into phase 3, which is paying people like my son to help be able to do this more effectively, or people that can do research, or maybe some of you out there that might have some skill set that can add to this and make it organic. And I can pay people because it's going to come out of what you guys do. We're going to have to create a system maybe where it's a monthly subscription, cheap, $5, like everybody does. But see if we can get ourselves 1,000, 5,000 people, 10,000, 100,000. See if we can make a difference. See if we can change this country. See if we're willing to fight until we die, to swing until we have no energy left. To finish the race, to complete the course, to fight the good fight. I'm here. I'll be here as long as God wants me, and as long as you guys keep showing up. PC free is liberty. God bless you. 2021. Get ready, guys. 2022. It's time to do some damage for the kingdom and for the greatest nation the world has ever known. We're not dead yet. Let's keep it that way. See you next year, guys, gals, in Karen. She'll be a little bit older, won't we all?